Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kelly's Bead Boutique. So today we're going back to my roots. No, not the blonde roots on the top of my head, but the ones that I'm best known for, which is my barrel knots. So I'm going to be creating this super fun bracelet using barrel knots and chain and a really versatile clasp. So if you want to see what I'm making today, come and join me. So to make our piece today, we're going to be using two different kinds of chain. So we have a ton of different chains that you can use, but I wanted kind of a chunky look in this one. So now this one won't be a kit, because you can go in and customize this to any way that you want, but I will make sure to put a list of everything that I used, and of course it's all available in our store. I get a lot of people saying, well, where can I buy that stuff? Well, you can buy it from me. I have a huge store full of all kinds of things. So I wanted sort of a chunky look on this one, so I chose this really fun bicycle chain because look at that, it looks exactly like a bicycle chain. So we're going to use that, and we're also going to use this sort of mid-size Rolo, and what I like about that particular one is not only the weight and the size of it, but these links are not soldered, and that will make a little more sense when I start making it, and I can explain a little bit about this. We're also going to be using a couple colors of our Matubo 2-aught seed beads. So they're like a giant seed bead with a large hole. The nice thing about that hole is you can get leather through there. And if you know me, I love anything that I can use with leather. So I'm using, what colors have I got here today? I've got the red Rembrandt and just the black, the opaque black. We have a ton of different colors. You can make this all in one color. You can make it in 3 colors. You can do whatever you like, but we do have a nice selection of these Matubo 2-aught seed beads. And we're going to be using those 2 colors today. We're also going to be using these 2 little crimp cord ends. I have about 1 1/4 meters, which is about, let's call it 50 inches of 1.5 millimeter leather. I'm going to be using a barrel knot tube, of course, and I will make sure to link that because pretty much daily I get a question saying, where can I buy those barrel knot tubes? So you can get those from us. And we're going to be using this fun little clasp. So this is a kind of a neat clasp in that it's got 3 links on it. Now, the way that this can be really customizable is we sell these in where they just have 2 links, 3 links, 4 links, and I think I might even have a couple that are 5. So you'll see once I'm finished this bracelet how you can really make this your own if you want to go a little bit more small, narrower like that, just a tiny one, or if you want to go really wide. We have all different colors and lots of different sizes. So the nice thing about that is they just kind of go on like that. So you do have to be a little dexterous to get them on, but once you get used to it, it's not bad. And I really like the clean, simple lines because the clasp just kind of blends into everything. So let's get started on this super fun project. And I also forgot to mention that we are going to be needing a few tools today. We're going to need our bent chain nose pliers, our chain nose pliers, and a pair of cutters. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing I think is the best to do is to pre-measure some of your chain and get that sizing all figured out before we start constructing this, because this you can change. This, once it's made, it's really hard to go backwards. So what I did was I sort of loosely went around my wrist and figured out if that would work. Now, once you add some jump rings on there, it is going to extend this out, plus that adds about an extra, 1/4 inch or so. We want to make sure that the way that this chain works is, so I've got 1 link going this way at the end. I want to follow that down, and I want to make sure that I'm ending on the same link. So in other words, I don't want to end 1 on this link and 1 on this link. Does that make sense? So I've got 2 links that kind of join up. Otherwise, what's going to happen is it's going to, unless you put on 2 jump rings, it's going to end up twisting on you. So you're always going to have a twisted chain look. If you don't mind that, it doesn't matter. So this one, because it doesn't have a clasp that will fall off, it's not as important that it is super snug. In order to have, like if you've got a toggle, you need to have a little bit of resistance so that it doesn't fall off. But on this one, it won't fall off unless it's really, really big. So you want to take a few moments, measure out your wrist, and then measure 1 piece of chain. Now, the nice thing about starting with this particular chain is that it's not soldered. So if I get this attached and then sort of do a dry fit on my wrist and realize, oh, it's just a little bit too small, I can always take a couple more links and just open one up and add it that way. Conversely, I can do the opposite. I can take out a couple links if I find that it's a bit too large. So, you can play with that. So I like to have this as my base just because I can then play with it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start with that, and I'm going to open up one of my jump rings. And so I just go opposite sides, and then it doesn't really matter which end you work on. I'm doing this just to, call it a dry fit. And then we're going to do that up nice and tight. Sort of jiggle it around. Now, if you're being super, super careful, you may want to make sure that when you put on the second side, let me get this open, that you're running it so that there is no, so like I can see if I've got this down, make sure I'm on camera here, that this has no kinks in it. So if I grab the end of it, put it through that side, and then come over here without any turns and twists in my hands, I know that when I undo this, it will be in the right direction. Or to make it a little bit more simple, you could literally just do that, so you can undo it and then do it up that way. That's probably the easier way, but I always do things hard. That's just the way my brain works. So now I can put this on my wrist. I can then put the end in. And like I said, it is a little hard, especially when I only have one thing on here. I mean, it's not really like, hard. It's just, you kind of have to think a little bit about it. So I can see that that's a little bit big, right? So I don't like my bracelets tight, but I also don't like them that large. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to pull that apart. I'm going to take off that one jump ring. And I'm kind of going the long route with this, I made it purposely a little too large so that I could explain what I would do, because I don't like it when everybody spends their hard-earned money, they make something, and then I get an email saying, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this because I ended up making it too big. I used all the chain, or I used all of this, or I didn't use enough of that. So I like to give you some options. So I'm going to take out 2 links, and that should work perfectly. All right, so I've got that sort of, I've done a dry fit. And then what I can do is I can take my other chain. Now I've already cut this one just because, I like to get it sort of done beforehand. All right, so we're going to start with the chain because that will dictate how big we are going to make the knotted part that we're going to work on now. So I'm going to put that off to the side, clear the deck here, get everything kind of ready, and we're going to start. So again, if you've been watching me for a long time, you know that I like doing the whole barrel knot thing, and that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to start by making a barrel knot on the end. So I'm going to lay my barrel knot tube on my leather. I'm going to wrap around 3 times, working towards my left hand, and then I'm going to take the end of that leather and I'm going to put it through the end of the tube and pull it out. And then I pull that through. Now you could have turned it around and done it the other way, but your knots would be going in a different direction, and I just didn't want that look. Okay, so I'm going to scoosh that down as far as I can. We need about a 1/2 inch to play with. So what I'm doing is just kind of pushing that down with my thumb. Okay, so that's what we want. We want that nice sort of nice wrapped look. So now I'm just going to start with my beads, and I am going to put this through there. So you can pick whatever colors you like, and you see how nicely that goes on there. I'm going to then take my tube and I'm going to do 3 wraps. I always start with 3, and then I take the end, put it through the tube, have it come through the end of the tube, and then pull out. I still get, after even hundreds of videos on barrel knots, I still get lots of people that get confused on how to create these. So they're pretty simple. That one did not work. So even me, but I'm the self-professed barrel knot queen, has some that don't work, and that's because I'm gabbing and not really paying attention. So if they don't work, just take it out and start again. So I'm going to go once, twice, 3 times. Make sure that goes all the way around, because mine did not go all the way around, and that's why I ended up with 2 loops instead of 3. I'm going to put that through there and then pull that out and make sure that it's going, I think mine went under the little piece that I'm making here instead of around it. So there we go, we've got 3 on there. So again, I don't edit my mistakes out because I want you to see that I too make mistakes even after making jewelry for all the years I have, and that most things are repairable. So now you can do, like if you wanted to do a pattern, because I really like this red and the black doesn't really show up very much, maybe I'm going to do a little different pattern. Maybe I'm going to do a couple red. We'll just play on this one because I did not pre-think this. I was just kind of like, well, what other colors? Because I've got another sample that I create. I always create a first sample to see if I like the project, and then I make another one live for you, and that's what I film with. And then, you know, so the second one is usually a bit more of a mystery because I don't know how the colors are going to work. I do actually really like this red. So, you know, I don't know. I think I'm going to bypass the black because I don't think the black's going to add anything to it, right? I mean, I can try one on here right now and see what it's going to look like. But I think the red with the black leather is probably black enough. Yeah, that doesn't do anything for me. So see, sometimes I'll choose things and then I think, oh, I don't know. I don't really like that. So I really like this red, what is it? Red Rembrandt? Yes, red Rembrandt. That's a hard word to say. It's got like these little sort of speckles in there because it's got the Picasso finish on it. So it gives it that really beautiful look. So we're going to continue doing this until I have approximately the same length as the chain, but not quite. So I will explain that in a few minutes. I just wanted to get a couple of these done so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm pushing that. I'm not pushing this super, super tight because one, with black leather, if you push too hard, sometimes you can actually scrape the color off because these are dyed leathers. And two, I don't want to break my piece of leather. So I want to make sure that I am pushing that so that these knots stay nice and tight as a knot should, but I'm not, you know, pulling and pushing so hard that I snap my leather or pull all the color off or something like that. So I'm going to continue this along until I have a little bit longer length. And let me just get this last one done here. And so I just kind of roll them around in my finger to get them a little more balanced out. And there we go. So I'm going to continue this for a little bit further. I am not going to make you watch me do every one of these barrel knots because that would be boring. And I will be right back. Hey, it's just me. I'm just checking back in. Make sure you're still here. I want to make sure everybody's awake and ready for the next step. All right, I'll be right back. I am back. So I have created 17 of these. I've got 17 of the beads on there. And I can see that that's going to be a little short. But once we get our ends on there, it may work. So we're going to do a little measuring before we go any further. So on my end, I need this to fit on here without poking out. So of course that's going to be far too much. So I'm going to go about here and cut that. Again, you can always cut a little more, but you can't add once you've already cut that. So be mindful that you're not over cutting, you know, that you don't want to do that. So, and that's just about perfect. I'll see if I can get that up there. It's hard because my filming unit covers where my fingers are, so I can't really tell. But what I want is to just sort of be able to see the end of that leather in there. I don't really want it poking out. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers, pushing that down to make sure it's a nice, like I don't want it up here. I want it right down next to that leather. So I'm going to push it down. I'm going to give that a good crimp. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to give it another crimp. Now, if you're selling these or if you're worried that they're going to go anywhere, you could put a little dab of glue on the leather and then put this on. I don't usually because I find that these are really, really well made, so you don't have to worry about that. But if it's something that makes you a little nervous, definitely put a little, I don't know, maybe some E6000 or some Loctite, something like that that will just grab that a little better. So now I'm going to take one of my jump rings. I'm going to put this through the end. And that was one that we'd already used, so it's already opened up. And I'm going to just pop it on here and do this up. So this is another one that if you were going to make them to sell, you might want to make a few different sizes because, you know, they're going to fit everybody a little differently and you can't really alter it once it's made. So now that I've got this on, you can see how much that adds. And I'm just going to turn this, make sure that I've got this. Yeah, that's going the right direction. So if I add my my little end piece on there, it should be just about right. So, you know, if it was too long, I haven't made this last knot so tight that I couldn't take that out. The other thing is that if you pull on this ever so slightly, you can get a little more length out of it. So if it's just not quite big enough, you could pull just a little bit and get some length, but I think we're going to be okay today. So I'm going to be brave and trim off there. And you can see this is the amount of waste that we've got today. It's about 5 inches. I would not, I think I said 50 inches at the beginning. I would not cut like 45 because it's almost impossible to get those last knots done if you don't have enough leather there. So it's minimal waste on this one, which is really good because sometimes on my leather projects, I have a little more waste than I would like. All right, so again, that's just the perfect length. I'm going to push this down. Now, if you don't have a pair of pliers that have a really fine end, often the bent chain nose pliers will have a little bit of a more narrow tip on them, so you can always use those. But I'm lucky enough to have a pair of these. I wish I could buy more. I've had them for over 20 years and they don't even make them anymore, but I love them. Okay, so then we are going to take one of our jump rings and we're going to add it on to here. So that goes in the middle one. Do this up. This is a good unisex project too, because it's got that sort of, you know, chunkier kind of quality to it. So now that is a little bit big, you know, so, but when it's on, like it's never, you're never going to get anything that's going to match up exactly, but when it's on, you're not going to be able to tell that one is a little bit larger. But, you know, if I'm being honest, I think what I would do is I would cut that out and stretch that out a little bit, because I think that's what I am going to do. I'm going to sacrifice one of these because I just don't like that it's a little bulkier. All right, so let's go backwards. So like I said, I am not going to edit out that I sort of, it's not really a mistake. It's just, you know, sometimes when you put things together, like I'm looking at that going, see how it's sort of sagging in the middle? And I'm not really finding that that aesthetically that's pleasing. Like you will not see it when it's on, trust me, it will not pop up. But I don't love the way that that looks. And because I am a perfectionist, I'm actually going to, and I have a hard time with these jump rings sometimes, I'm just going to cut it out. So let's try that again. So again, this is a good thing for you guys to see. I know I'm going to sacrifice this, but whatever. Because then you can see what I do when I'm making things when they're not fitting. So I'm just going to pull that off, and there we go. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the end there. I'm just going to cut it about there. And so for me, yes, I did sacrifice one of those crimp ends, but you know, it's not a big thing. So just kind of learn by my, you know, I'm going to do air quotes mistakes in that way you don't have to, you know, waste products. So what I can do is I can pull on this just a little bit. So you see that just kind of pulls it out, and that's a little bit better in the length now. So just play around with things before you commit to it. That's probably the better way. All right, so pull that down, give that a little crimp in between. Make sure it's on there nice and tight. And then now I can take my jump ring and do that up. And it's a fix. So with the leather, because leather does stretch a bit and because the knots are sort of flexible, it will be a little bit nicer in the look when we're done with that. So yes, much better. So just taking that little bit out, it was a, you know, a sacrifice of a few pennies there, but I think it was worth it. It made for a nicer look. So now this last one, I will show how we get this on because of the way that it goes. So I want to make sure that I'm using the right side. Like you want to, I guess it doesn't really matter which side you use. So we just want to have, we don't want to have any twists in it. So make sure it's not doing that. So I'm going to choose the one end, which is this one here, and do that up. And then I do believe if I follow it through to the opposite end in the direction that it was going, if I remember correctly, you know, it's been a few weeks since I made my first sample. So if I follow that through, yes, see, it's going the opposite way. So if I do that up, oops, my stuff is, let's get this the right way. If I do that up this way, it's going to end up with a little kink in it. So I'm going to put on two jump rings. So it's going to reorient those loops. And with the bicycle chain, there really isn't any way of getting away from that. But you'll see here when I put the second jump ring on and then get it attached that you will never notice that there's two jump rings. And if you didn't like that look, you could always just use, two of these kind of chains. You can use any kind of chain. I just particularly like the chunky chains for this. So that's why I used it. But again, you can use any chain. You could also use you could use fine chain, and you could use multiple lengths of the of a finer chain. Sorry, I cannot do two things and talk at the same time anymore. So you could use, like a couple strands on one side, then your beads in the middle, and then another couple strands of a finer chain on the other side for a really unique look. So, just have some fun with it and play around. And then I'm going to now clear this all off and show you the completed project. All right, so there you go. There is the completed project. Of course, it doesn't look like much when it's there. When it's done up, it's super cute. I love this one. And I really like the minimalistic clasp. You just have to get used to getting these ones on. But you see how it just adds that just a little bit of something there? It's not like some bracelets are all clasp and this one isn't. So on, it's super, super cute. It's probably going to be one of my go-tos because I tend to like jewelry that is a little, I don't know, edgy looking. I don't know, what's the word? Bohemian kind of. I like something that's got a little, I'm not too precious. I'm not a very precious kind of girl. So now I did make this one a little bit smaller. You see what I do is I just kind of take my hands and I come on either side and then do that. And look at how cute that is. Mind the old age spots. But I think it turned out really nice. Now I had to sort of disassemble the other one because I didn't want to waste any more chain because I know that you guys will start ordering the chain and then we run out. But this is the other one that I made. So I used two different colors. I don't know if I have them here with me. Oh, I do. So this one is made with the turquoise green opaque, which is this one. And then the other one that I used is the wasabi dark travertine. So if you want something that has more of that kind of a vibe to it. And then I used the foggy brown leather that we have, the 1.5 millimeter foggy brown. So that's another one. I just, like I said, I took it apart to save on the chain. So there you go. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one as much as I did. It was super fun to put together and you can just let your imagination go wild. As I said, we do have these in different sizes. So now you can see you could make a wider one. You could do all leather. You could do all chain. You don't even have to do the barrel knots. You could just do chain with something strung in the middle, but these are super versatile clasps. So if you found this video helpful, please make sure to give me a like, leave me a comment and tell me which color combination you're going to make. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you did. So I want to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.